Hello and welcome to my Gundam box downsizing tutorial. As you will quickly learn when you start building Gundam models, they don't exactly take up the whole box. As you can see here, that's barely half of it. What I will show you today is a method to fix the issue of empty space. I did not come up with this, however, here is some perspective on exactly how effective it is. Yeah. And, as you can see here, the Gundam kit still fits perfectly fine in the spatially efficient cardboard coffin. The essentials for this technique are a pair of scissors, a measuring tool such as a measuring tape like I have here, and a pencil. I do have some optional steps, however, that I like to do after the fact, which will require something like tape, glue, or in my case, a stapler. The first step is to measure the long side and find half of the length of it. So in this case, this is about 11.5 inches. So to find the center, I'll have to go to 5 1/3, or 5 3/4, I should say, and put a mark there. Sorry if I go off screen, I only have so many hands. So about right there, and that will be my center line. Repeat the same step on the opposite side. So now that you have the center line marked, you want to measure the height, which in this case seems to be about 2.5 inches. So, now, take half of the height, go back to your center line, and go out from there half of the height. So, 2.5 inches, I go out by 1.5, or 1 1/4 inches. So here, and here. Once again, do the same thing on the opposite side. Always make sure to double check your measurements. I almost went too far here. So speaking of which, here, 1 1/4, 1 1/4. One and a quarter. So, now that we've verified our measurements are correct, here is a quick recap. Measure the long side, find the center, measure the height, take half of the height, and go that distance out on both sides of the center. Now, before we continue, you'll want to trace one of these secondary lines across the inside of the box. You don't have to be exact, since this is not going to be showing. You're not even going to be cutting along this, I should say. Using this line, put your model kit in and make sure that nothing goes across this line. So, as you can see, the Beggar Bayou fits within the area. If anything goes across, just hope it's something you can easily remove. And now we reach the point of no turning back. So, go to these secondary lines, again, after verifying your measurements are correct, and cut down to the bottom of the box. you now should have something like this. You have the two ends of the box. I should probably stop bumping my backdrop. You have the two ends of the box and these two small flaps in the middle. But you have a little more cutting to do. So trim off a little bit of these middle flaps at an angle, just so you have a little bit of room to adjust in the next step. You now should have something like this, a middle flap that's angled inward, and those two ends that you already saw before. Now that you have this, push these two middle flaps inward, and go like this into one end, and then with the other end, push the two sides outward so they go over everything else. And now that you have this all folded and rolled up, pinch this part here to make a bit of a crease, top and bottom. So let me demonstrate again. Middle flaps inward, and they go into this part, which will be the bottom segment. Then the top segment, you pull the flaps out, or the flaps on that part out, and then you go over everything. Like that. And now, that is all of the essential steps done. Now that you have gotten to this point, you can just put your model kit and your accessories in the box and be done with it. But I do have a couple more steps that I prefer to do after the fact. For those, you will need your stapler, tape, or glue. So, open up your box, line this part up correctly, stick that in place, same on the other side. This is more of a functional change, because now it can't completely unravel, only this lid can move. And this next change is merely cosmetic. Take the top half of your box and cut off one of these end segments. Now that you have your end segment, if you're using a stapler, peel these bits off, just so there's one less layer to staple through. Put that on the end of the lid, and fasten that in place as you wish. Again, if you're using a stapler, remove those little segments that I showed you. There. Then just bend these inward. And now, with these non-essential steps done, the box is complete. You can now put your model kit in and have a far more spatially efficient collection. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and that it was useful to you. Please consider liking and subscribing.